For 3 years I was Michael's wife. He lavished me with tenderness, smothered me in devotion, or so I had thought, until the afternoon I stumbled upon a sugar baby contract tucked away in his safe. When I confronted him that evening, my voice trembling with rage, he merely shrugged. "Didn't your father cheat too?" He said coolly, "Your mother put up with it. I'm just having a bit of fun. Why can't you?" I didn't argue. I sold the house, the car. Every gift he'd ever given me. I burned the photographs, shredded the letters, erased every fingerprint of our shared existence. Then I walked away without looking back. After that confrontation, Michael didn't return for 3 days. I didn't call. I didn't wonder aloud where he might be. Not anymore. Then in the bruised hours before dawn, he came home. I was awake, had been all night, my body aching, my mind adrift in a fog of exhaustion and pain. I heard the soft shuffle of his footsteps, the sigh of the door closing. I shut my eyes, feigning sleep. The mattress dipped beside me before I could tense or turn. The familiar heat of his chest settled against my back. A touch that once meant safety, now only violation. Every muscle in my body went rigid. I tried to shift away, but his arm tightened. "Why are you so cold?" he murmured, his breath warm against my neck. And then quietly, almost carelessly, he said, "I had an abortion today." My body hadn't recovered yet, of course. I was cold. I touched the back of my hand, still icy. I felt terrible. He paused for a second, then reached out as if to hold me tighter. I pushed his hand away and rolled off the bed. Seeing this, Michael looked at me and asked, "Where are you going?" "To the guest room." Maybe it was my attitude that made him angry. His face darkened with frustration. "When will you finally grow up?" he said. "Do you really have to throw a tantrum like a child?" His voice was full of impatience, as if from beginning to end he was the one being unreasonable. The calmness in my heart began to ripple with pain. A bitter smile appeared on my lips. "So in your eyes, I'm the one who's always making a fuss, huh?" Michael's cold black eyes stared at me. He pursed his thin lips and said nothing. But his silence was a quiet confirmation of everything I'd said. A cold smart curled at the corner of my mouth. I looked back at him. "Since we already reached the point where we can't stand each other anymore, pick a time. Let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau and get divorced." Hearing that, the anger in Michael's eyes intensified. He got out of bed and walked straight toward me. "Bookmark Emma. I already told you," he said through gritted teeth. "She gives me the freshness you can't. Once this passes, I'll get rid of her, the one who matters most to me." I was stunned by how shameless his words were. My eyes widened in disbelief, and I let out a bitter laugh. So in his eyes, women were this cheap, there whenever he wanted them, disposable when he didn't. My voice trembled as I asked, "Michael, do you even have a conscience?" He seemed to run out of patience and looked at me with growing irritation. "You've got the nerve to ask me that? We've been married for 4 years. Have I ever treated you badly? Why can't you just turn a blind eye? Why is it only you who can't accept this?" I gave a sarcastic laugh and asked coldly, "So by your logic, I can go out and find that so-called freshness too?" "We each do our own thing." That clearly provoked him. Michael suddenly grabbed my wrist tightly, his jaw clenched in fury. "You dare?" Facing his angry glare, I pulled my lips into a cold smile. "See, even you can't accept it, so why do you expect me to? Let's get divorced." "Michele, don't want to keep doing this anymore." He still refused to agree. After giving me a long look, he slammed the door and walked out. I sat on the bed staring at the familiar layout of the room, and an overwhelming sadness washed over me. Earlier this year, my dad, once hailed as the model husband, cheated the woman he had an affair with, came to our house heavily pregnant, demanding that my parents divorce. She shouted and made a scene, and soon everyone around us knew my mom had spent most of her life with him. There was no way she hadn't noticed something was wrong, which he chose to endure it. I had seen them be affectionate, and I had also seen my dad hit my mom to protect his mistress. Back then I nearly broke down. It was Michael who stepped in and handled everything. He held me tightly, his voice trembling as he kept whispering, "I'm here, don't be afraid." From that moment on, he gave me an overwhelming sense of security. No matter where he went, he would always report back to me. Even when he was just having dinner with friends, he'd make a video call so I wouldn't worry. But it was this very man, so seemingly considerate, who secretly kept a younger woman 3 years my junior as his mistress. If I hadn't impulsively decided Tockley in the study that day, would he have kept Ithidin from me for the rest of my life? My vision blurred, and the sting in my eyes slowly turned into a dull ache. A pain began to grow in my lower abdomen. I clutched at it, wincing. It hurt so badly I could barely walk. From the corner of my eye, I caught sight of my phone on the nightstand. Almost instinctively, I called Michael. The phone rang once, then twice, but eventually all I got was the cold automated voice. Before the line went dead, I clenched my teeth and dialed 911. When the pain was unbearable, I passed out before help even arrived. When I woke up again, the sharp scent of disinfectant filled my nose. I turned my head and saw Michael sitting beside the bed, his face dark with rage. Anger radiated from him like a storm cloud, as if he could strangle me at any moment. When he noticed I was awake, his dark eyes flickered. He clenched his jaw and asked through gritted teeth, "You aborted our child?" Facing his fury, I remained calm. My throat was dry, but I still managed to quiet. "Yeah, what gave you the right to do that?" He growled. "That was my child, too, for once." He seemed to truly care about something in this world, but in the 4 years we'd been married, Michael had never once brought up the idea of having children. Even when his parents pushed me to give them a grandchild, he would always step in first and say, "We're still young, no rush." Because of that, I always assumed he didn't want kids. I let out a bitter breath and replied flatly, "Because I think your mom was right. Bad genes are hereditary. I don't want my child growing up to be just like his father." Michael froze. His expression twisted into something ugly. He turned and kicked a chair beside him with full force. The chair couldn't take it and crashed to the ground, echoing loudly through the room. The sudden noise startled me, my heart leaping in my chest. I pressed my dry lips together tightly. Michel let out a cold laugh, clapping his hands sarcastically. "Emma, you really are something else." "Maybe I am, I don't know," I muttered. "I just know I'm tired." Had no energy left to argue with him anymore. I simply closed my eyes. I didn't know how long it had been, but the room eventually fell into complete silence. When I opened my eyes again, I was alone. Michael had already left after the divorce. My mom ended up with a decent share of assets thanks to Michael's help. She was now off traveling, enjoying herself with the money in this city. The only person he still had a real connection with was my best friend, Lily. Once I'd rested for a while, I contacted her. If I was going to get a divorce, I had to be decisive. Lily rushed over. She hadn't even sat down when I said, "Lily, can you do me a favor?" "What is it? And more importantly, why are you in the hospital?" I told her everything that had happened lately, every single detail. After hearing it all, Lily fell into a long silence. Back when my dad cheated, she had advised me not to tell Michael, afraid that one day those same wounds would be turned against me like a sharp blade. She was right, but I was too foolish. I trusted him completely, leaned on him for everything. In the end, the very blade I handed over myself became a boomerang, and it came back to cut me deep. "It's too late to regret anything now," she said quietly, "but I support your decision. A man whose heart has changed is like rotten cabbage. You tear it up and throw it away." I let out a weak smile. "So I'll have to trouble you for a while." "What trouble?" She scoffed. "When I bought my place, I made sure to save a room just for you. You can move in any time." Lily said that one sentence made me feel completely at ease. After 2 days of rest in the hospital, I returned home. I didn't even take a break. I immediately started going through all of Michael's things. Just like he said, he had never treated me poorly. The jewelry and clothes he gave me were all top of the line. Every time he went on a business trip, he brought back thoughtfully chosen gifts for me. As I dug through everything, I realized some of the clothes still had the tags on them. I mechanically sorted out all the gifts, but then froze when I came across a thick stack of envelopes. They were pink, and inside each was a letter overflowing with Michael's love for me. There was no doubt his love had once been genuine and generous. From the moment we started dating, he had been documenting everything about our relationship. These envelopes were proof of that. I fought back the surge of memories, picked up the stack of letters and walked downstairs. "Mrs. Zhang, can I borrow a lighter?" I asked. She was busy cleaning and didn't know what I was up to, but still brought me one. With the envelopes and the lighter in hand, I went out to the flower bed in the yard. That flower bed was filled with red roses. I had planted myself in the sunlight. They looked beautiful and vibrant. I took a deep breath, then used the lighter to set the envelopes on fire. Without hesitation, I threw them into the flower bed. The flames roared to life like an eruption of fury, consuming everything around them. Mrs. Zhang heard the commotion and came running out, her face pale. She panicked and slapped her knees in distress. "Mum, what are you doing? There's no need to keep things that no longer matter, memories or people. If they're in the way, they should be removed." I stared coldly at the burning fire. Wachinga's the once beautiful flower bed was destroyed, but I didn't regret it. Michael knew my mother had endured years of a painful marriage, too indecisive to divorce, but what he didn't understand was that I was nothing like her. I can't tolerate even a grain of sand in my eye. After finishing everything, I hired a professional cleaning crew to scrub the entire villa from top to bottom, leaving not a single trace of my life behind. Mrs. Zhang tried to talk me out of it but failed. She then called Michael to inform him, but all he said coldly was, Let her do whatever she— You don't need to update me about her anymore. I was standing right there when he said that. I heard every word loud and clear. Good thing I had already made up my mind to divorce him. His words and actions wouldn't be able to hurt me any longer after that. I packed my things and moved in with Lily. Meanwhile, Michael no longer bothered to hide anything. He brought his little canary to social events openly, events where in the past he had always been the one by his side. Because of this sudden change, people began speculating that something was wrong with our marriage. Every night, Lily would fill me in on what she heard, and while she talked, I'd be negotiating prices with buyers for my designer handbags. She eventually asked, "Worried you're really going to sell all the bags and jewelry Michael gave you? What else would I do with them?" I replied flatly, "I can't just walk away from a 4-year marriage with nothing. Since he's unwilling to divorce peacefully, I'll likely have to go through legal channels to force it. If things get messy, I might walk away with nothing but the divorce papers. I haven't worked in 4 years without money. How am I supposed to survive in this society?" "You really are clear-headed," Lily said softly, almost admiringly, "but still, I never expected Michael to cheat. He used to love you so much." Love? I gave a rare wry smile. What does love even mean? Life is long. Who can promise to love just one person forever? For the first time, I felt a strange sense of relief. What happened with my dad was the perfect. He used to love my mom so much, wouldn't even let her step into the kitchen, couldn't bear to see her tired or in pain. He treated her like a princess, but in the end, he still told her, "You don't give me emotional value," and said that being at home felt like being a slave without dignity. That same man, who once couldn't bear to raise his voice at her, ended up hitting her for the sake of another woman. Maybe this is just a common flaw in men, deep-rooted and ugly. Lily, I said quietly, "What broke me the most wasn't even the cheating. It was when Michael said, 'Didn't your dad cheat too? Your mom tolerated it. I'm just having some fun. Why can't you?' My family's trauma should never have been used as an excuse for his moral failure." Hearing that, Lily nearly exploded. "What a piece of trash. He's shameless and still has the nerve to drag your parents into it. Why doesn't he just drop dead?" I just shrugged, unfazed. "Thanks to both of them, I've learned something. If you stop caring, you can live a lot more freely." I deleted every way Michael could contact me, blocked him, and avoided anything related to him. But I didn't expect the police to show up at my door one day. "Miss Carter, your husband, Michael, filed a missing person report for you," the young female officer said. "If you're safe and sound, please go home. He's been looking all over for you." I stood there feeling deeply frustrated. Neighbors started poking their heads out to see what the commotion was about, and soon countless eyes were staring straight at me. Under all that pressure, I forced a smile and said, "I'll go back then." "Sorry for the trouble." "Great," she replied, "we'll give you a ride." So I was forced to return home. The man they claimed had been desperately looking for me, Michael, was now sitting calmly on the sofa, his face cold and expressionless. Beside him was a woman dressed to perfection, his little canary Susan, the one he had been flaunting publicly. "Well, aren't you something?" he said with a sneer, running away like a kid. I ignored him. My eyes moved from Susan's face and I replied flatly, "You're one to talk. You brought her home." Susan jumped to her feet the moment he mentioned her name. "Miss Carter, please don't be upset. I'll leave right away. Whatever's going on between you two has nothing to do with me." Didn't care about her at all. But Michael threw me an annoyed glance. Then he turned to her and said, "It's late. It's not safe for you to go back now. I'll have Mrs. Zhang prepare a guest room." He then called for Mrs. Zhang and told her to get the room ready. He even added, "Also bring her one of Emma's and used pajamas." Mrs. Zhang froze for a moment, her eyes flicking to me nervously. "Sir, there's nothing left of ma'am's belongings in the house." Michael clearly hadn't noticed that yet. His gaze swept across the living room, and when his eyes met mine, they were filled with something complicated. I met his look without fear. Maybe he could see my determination, because a flash of irritation crossed his face. "Then call Uncle Zhang to drive her home," he muttered. Susan's expression changed the moment she heard that. She'd been acting meek and timid a moment ago, but now her face held a hint of arrogance. I didn't want to play this game with either of them. I turned to leave, but Michael quickly stepped forward and grabbed my "This is your home. Where do you think you're going?" I stared into his eyes and said firmly, "This is not my home." He didn't say anything, but tightened his grip. A dull pain spread through my arm and my brows furrowed slightly. After a long pause, he finally let out a deep sigh. "Susan, stop it. I'll have someone drive you back now." Though her face turned pale in an instant, she forced a smile. "No need, Mr. Carter. I can go back on my own." She looked like a delicate lily about to collapse at any moment, yet trying hard to appear calm. She grabbed her purse and was about to leave. I caught a glimpse of hesitation on her face, and pushed Michael's hand away in disgust. "Are you too done being disgusting, Michael? Just because I'm not arguing doesn't mean I accept your disgusting behavior. I'm just too tired to waste my breath. If you have even a shred of conscience left, stop trying to gross me The only reason he came back with the police was to keep Lily from being talked about behind her back by nosy neighbors. Just because I came back didn't mean I had forgiven him. I'm truly sorry, Miss Carter. Susan said, I know my presence has caused you trouble. I'll leave now. She gave me a deep bow, then turned and ran out of the villa. Michael's expression shifted slightly, and a look of hesitation appeared in his eyes. I lazily lifted my eyelids and said, It's late. A young girl like her going out alone isn't exactly safe. Aren't you going to chase after her? He hesitated for 2 seconds, then lowered his voice and said gently, She's still childish. Don't take her seriously. Let me take her home first. We'll talk when I get back. As he spoke, he grabbed his coat from the sofa and rushed outside. I gave a self-deprecating smile. Just then Lily messaged me, How are things on your end? Did Michael give you any trouble? I paused for 2 seconds before replying, No, but I'm really uncomfortable right now. This villa felt tainted. That faint jasmine fragrance Susan wore lingered everywhere. If it had been any other scent, maybe I wouldn't have noticed, but unfortunately, jasmine was the one perfume I absolutely hated. Lily misunderstood my message. Are you seriously feeling sad over that jerk? Don't make me come over there and yell at you. By the way, there's a design school in the US recruiting a special batch of students this year. Are you interested? I'd majored in fashion design in college. Even though I hadn't worked in the past 4 years, I often designed and made clothes in my free time. Michael even had a special studio built for me at home so I could create freely. The only shame was all my designs ended up being appreciated by no one but me. The Carter family didn't like their daughter-in-law making public appearances. Now that I was getting a divorce, I no longer needed to live by anyone's expectations. Absolutely, I replied. Sign me up. The moment I heard about the program, I didn't hesitate. I submitted my latest sketches to the shoe loss part of the special selection process. I didn't continue staying at Lily's place. Instead, I booked a room at a hotel near her home. After all, there was nothing left in this city worth my attachment. No people, no memories. So there was no reason to buy a new place here. While waiting for the school's decision, I went to consult a lawyer about the divorce. I had planned to file for divorce directly, but the lawyer explained that without proof of emotional breakdown in the marriage, I couldn't proceed with a lawsuit. The court would only offer mediation, so it seemed the fastest way to get divorced was still for Michael to agree to it. I didn't want to see his disgusting face again, so I had the lawyer send him the divorce agreement in my behalf, already signed with my name. As soon as Michael received it, he exploded with rage. Desperate to reach me, he called non-stop. When he couldn't get through, he went to find Lily. Where's Emma? Tell her to come out, he demanded, standing outside her door with a stormy expression, eyes locked on the house as if he could see right through the walls. Lily blocked the entrance, not letting him take a single step forward. Her face was full of disdain. She's not here. If you're looking for her, try somewhere else. There's no way, he snapped. She has nowhere else to go except here inside. I was watching a reality show. I could hear everything clearly. I pulled a bitter smile across my lips. He wasn't wrong. The home that once sheltered me from the wind and rain was gone in this entire city. The only person I could count on was Lily. She let out a cold laugh. Oh, so now you remember that? Did you forget what you promised her on your wedding day? Michael's face turned stiff, his eyes dark and heavy. This is between me and my wife. It has nothing to do with you. Don't forget, Lily shot back. This is my home, so it has everything to do with me. If you dare trespass, don't blame me for what happens next. Michael, certain I was inside, tried to force his way in. Just then, Lily's boyfriend arrived. Seeing what was happening, he didn't hesitate. He rushed forward and started throwing punches. Lily anxiously tried to break them up. Stop it. Both of you, just stop. When she couldn't separate them, she grabbed her phone and called security. Hearing the commotion, I rushed out too, trying to stop the fight, but compared to them, Lily and I barely had any strength. Fortunately, 2 security guards quickly arrived. They moved in calmly but decisively, and pulled the two apart. Michael had always been athletic and trained regularly, so his blows came fast and hard. Lily's boyfriend was clearly outmatched. His face was bruised and bleeding. Michael, are you insane? Couldn't hold back anymore and yelled at him. He turned his sharp, furious eyes toward me and growled, If you had come out sooner, would any of this have happened? I let out a bitter laugh. He was always like this, never acknowledging his own faults, always pushing the blame onto others. Don't try to guilt trip me. I'm not going back with you. Michael, if you had even a shred of decency, you just signed the damn divorce papers. Stop making everyone sick. Lily immediately stepped in front of me, shielding me without hesitation, glaring at him with fiery eyes. This needs to be dealt with properly, I said quietly, letting out a deep sigh. I placed a hand on Lily's shoulder. Take your boyfriend to get his injuries treated first. I'll talk to him. Lily gave Michael a cold snort. Fine. But if he tries to lay a finger on you, Just shout and I'll call the police immediately. I gave her a faint smile and turned toward the I didn't want to stay out there any longer. The noise was attracting the attention of curious neighbors. Their gossip didn't bother me, but this was Lily's home, the result of her hard work. She didn't deserve to have it polluted by this scene. Michael stayed silent the entire time, until we stepped out of the elevator. Then he said, "My car is parked just outside the complex. Let's go home." I turned to him with a cold stare. "Do you really think we can go back to how things were, Michael, the moment you cheated? You should have known this day would come, Emma. I know I was wrong. I'm willing to make it up to you, whatever it takes. Just give me another chance," he pleaded, his expression finally showing traces of vulnerability. His eyes were filled with caution and desperation. He truly thought that by lowering himself and coaxing me a little, I'd fall for it and go back to being the foolish woman who forgave everything. But unfortunately for him, I wasn't someone who settled for less. "Let me ask you this," I said, my voice steady. "If you throw garbage into a trash can, would you ever reach in and take it back out like nothing happened?" Michael flinched slightly. His thin lips pressed into a tight line, and something unreadable flickered in his deep, dark eyes. "So even if I got rid of her, even if I told you I love you and only you, you still wouldn't forgive me?" he asked, his voice cracking with emotion. For a second, I saw a trace of hesitation in his face. Maybe he really had considered ending things with Susan, but if he truly meant it, he wouldn't be asking this question. He'd show me with his actions. "You know," I said calmly, "what kept me holding on to this marriage for so long was your love. That love was my biggest motivation. But now I don't feel it anymore. Being with you has become nothing but settling. You know, the type of person I hate the most, yet you didn't hesitate to become exactly that kind of person. So tell me, what right do you have to ask me to let it go?" "No, I know I was wrong," he said quickly. "Emma, I love you. Please give me a chance. I swear I'll prove it to you." I smiled but didn't reply. I didn't believe a single word he said, and maybe he could sense that, because when he got home, he immediately began cleaning the flower bed that had been left in ruins. He said he wanted to replant all the bright blooms himself. Mrs. Zhang even sent me a photo of him, slowly picking out bits of trash from the flower bed by hand. Mrs. Zhang had also written, "Ma'am, Mr. Carter still loves you. Divorce is a big decision. Please think it through carefully. Don't do something you'll regret." Regret? No, the answer was a firm no. I only knew that if I didn't stand firm this time, I'd be sentencing myself to hell of my own making. I ignored every message Michael sent me, pretending I hadn't seen a thing. I'd already troubled Lily enough to avoid Michael showing up at her place again. I moved back to the hotel with nothing much to do during those days. I focused on sketching new ideas. I'd always had a dream to open a clothing studio of my own, to build my own independent brand and bring it into the public. And now the opportunity was right in front of me. I wasn't going to let it slip away. I sold a number of luxury items and saved up a considerable sum, enough to fund my studies abroad. Just as I had finished planning how to use the money, my mom called. She didn't sound tired like before. In fact, her voice was light and cheerful. "Emma, I'm planning to come back next week to visit you. Do you want me to bring anything?" "No need. You don't have to come back," I said suddenly. She paused for a moment, clearly caught off guard. "Emma, did I say something to upset you?" she asked, her voice instantly tense. That's when I realized my tone had been too sharp. "No, it's not that," I replied quickly. "I just don't think there's any reason for you to come back right now. Michelle and I are getting divorced, and I don't plan on staying here much longer either." Years of emotional exhaustion from my dad had made my mom cautious, always walking on eggshells, afraid of upsetting people. I chose to divorce without hesitation, precisely because I didn't want to repeat her path. I hadn't done anything cruel or unforgivable in this life. I wasn't a bad person, so why shouldn't I deserve happiness? There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then she asked quietly, "Is it because of me and your dad's divorce? Did that affect you too?" "No, don't overthink it," I said. "Michael and I just aren't compatible. Divorce was bound to happen eventually." She didn't believe me and was about to ask more, so I simply told her the truth that left her with no room to argue against my decision. Her voice trembled slightly. "Emma, you're braver than I ever was." Her sudden off-topic comment made everything instantly clear. If she'd had the courage back then that I had now, maybe she wouldn't have spent all those years being drained and losing herself. I smiled. "It's not too late for you either. You're on vacation, right? Just enjoy it. Once everything's settled with me, you can come visit." Then we talked for a while longer before hanging up. Just as I was about to wash up and rest, a notification popped up. "An email sent just 3 minutes ago from overseas." Heart racing, I opened it with trembling hands. The next second, a burst of excitement escaped from my lips. I had been accepted. It was an official admission letter from the school, complete with my enrollment date. I read the email over and over 3 times before it finally sunk in. For the first time in a long while, I smiled from my heart and fell asleep that night with joy in my chest. The next afternoon, I had plans with Lily to get our nails done. When she saw me beaming, she couldn't help but feel happy for me. "You used to hate coming with me to do our nails," she said. "Now you're more enthusiastic than I am." "Well, that's because I don't have to live for Annie Neal's approval anymore," I answered simply. "I've always loved looking good," I added, "but Michael's mom didn't like it. Please his family. I had to mold myself into their version of a perfect daughter-in-law, but not anymore. Now I'm just me. No one has the right to tell me who to be." While I spoke to the nail technician about the design I wanted, I happened to look up and there was Susan. She looked completely drained of life, pale as a ghost, walking aimlessly like a lost soul. Her steps were unsteady, her movements hollow. I frowned slightly and turned away, trying to ignore her. But she had already seen me. Straightening her posture, she pushed open the door and came in, her lips dry and nearly colorless, trembled faintly. Her voice was faint, almost drifting. "Miss Carter, can we talk?" There was nothing I wanted to talk about with her. I was just about to say now, and I caught the pleading look in her eyes. I sighed. "Fine. I'll give you 3 minutes." I stood up slowly. "Lily, stay here. I'll be right back." Lily didn't even try to be polite. She sneered sarcastically. "Sure, but keep your distance from her. You don't want to catch something nasty." Susan's already pale face turned even whiter. She looked like she was trying to smile, but couldn't manage even that. A few minutes later, Susan and I sat down at a cafe, just a short walk from the nail salon. When the waiter came by, I instinctively ordered 2 coffees. She quietly interrupted. "Just a glass of warm water for me." "I can't have coffee right now." I raised an eyebrow but didn't say anything. Then she added softly, "I just had a miscarriage." I stared at her in shock. "Michael?" She didn't answer directly. Instead, she gave a strained, bitter smile. "This is karma. I guess I sold myself for money and became his hidden mistress. I was naive enough to think that after you two fought and started the divorce, when he began taking me to public events, it meant he was starting to care about me. But in the end," she said with a bitter laugh, "he crushed that illusion himself. He told me I wasn't even worth a strand of your hair, that I should stop dreaming. Then a few days ago, I found out I was pregnant. When I went to the hospital, the doctor told me my uterine lining was thin, that I might never be able to carry a child again if I lost this one." Each word left me more stunned than the last. The doctor had said all that, and yet she still went through with the abortion. I couldn't understand what she was thinking. Maybe she noticed the confusion in my eyes, because she continued, "I was planning to keep the baby and raise it on my own, but once he found out, he said only you could carry his child. He personally took me to the hospital and made sure I had the procedure. So now the baby is gone and I nearly lost my life, too." I looked at her, my expression unreadable. "And what exactly are you trying to tell me with all this?" She gave a faint smile. "I just wanted to remind you, don't believe a man's lies so easily. I'm leaving, but there will always be another one after me. You're a good person, Miss Carter. Don't let a man ruin you." "What makes you think I'm a good person?" Because when most wives find out their husbands are cheating, they immediately go after the other woman. But you didn't. You ignored me completely. You gave me dignity, even when I didn't deserve it." I looked at her calmly, not confronting. "You was how I preserved my own dignity." Just as her words faded, Michael suddenly stormed into the cafe like a thundercloud. "Susan, how dare you come looking for her?" he shouted, his voice cold and harsh. Susan trembled at the sound of his fury, going completely still. She didn't even dare to breathe. "Sir," she stammered, her voice barely audible. Her timid expression made me frown. I pressed my fingers against the bridge of my nose and slowly stood up. "Is this all you know how to do, Michael?" He looked at me in a panic. "Emma, I don't want to hear it." I cut him off, my tone sharp. "Let's not waste time. Did you come to sign the divorce papers?" His face turned ghostly pale, his jaw clenched. "No, I'm not agreeing to a divorce. Don't even think about it." I had expected that. I wasn't surprised anymore, and I didn't care to argue. I picked up my bag and said flatly, "Then don't bother showing up again until you're ready to sign." With that, I turned and walked away without a second thought. Yesterday, I spoke with my lawyer again. He told me that after 3 years of separation, I could file for divorce with no further conditions. Since Michael refused to sign, now I just wait. There was no point wasting my time or breath on him. With that matter temporarily resolved, I found Lily again after finishing up our gorgeous manicures in the afternoon. We went on a shopping spree that evening, completely over the top. I even checked off all the things I once wanted to do but had been forbidden to. Even Lily couldn't help but sigh. Revenge shopping is truly terrifying. To avoid being found by Michael again, I switched hotels daily while I was still in the country. Once my visa was approved, I didn't hesitate. I booked a one-way ticket abroad the day before my flight. Lily insisted on celebrating my fresh start. She gave me a small charm with a blessing engraved on it. "Take this with you," she said. "It'll keep you safe and bring you good fortune, and don't forget me when you're..." I'll be waiting here for the day you come back in triumph." As soon as she finished speaking, she burst into tears. It reminded me of the day I got married. She cried just as hard back then. Anyone watching might have thought someone stole her life savings. I laughed and hugged her. "Just wait, I'll come back rich and buy you a mansion. We'll get you into a real dream home. It's a deal." She said it's a deal. I echoed. That night we both slept soundly. Even our dreams were sweet. Tomorrow, a brand new life was waiting for me. Morning of my flight, the sun was bright and I felt refreshed. I sat in the car gazing out at the sky filled with hope for the future. Lily chatted with me now and then as she drove, but then out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a car behind us, a license plate that looked oddly familiar. My heart skipped a beat. I turned to look, but the car was gone. I shook off the feeling and kept chatting with her. Before long, we arrived in a new country, me full of hope, carrying both of our dreams. With meth school had dorms, but I didn't apply. I was afraid of roommate conflicts, so I chose a single apartment near campus instead. On my first day, I spent hours cleaning the place, which had clearly been unoccupied for a long time. By the time I finally sat down to rest, 2 hours had passed. I collapsed on the couch, exhausted. Then my phone rang. It was a call from Lily. I picked up smiling. I just finished cleaning the apartment I was going to, but she interrupted me, her voice low and serious. "Emma, Michael was in a car accident." I blinked. My lips were dry. I licked them and said calmly, "So I wasn't the one who caused it. What does it have to do with me?" But the moment I said that, I suddenly remembered what Susan had told me, that he'd gotten his karma and she'd lost her chance to ever be a mother. So is Michael's accident also karma? "They issued a critical notice during surgery," Lily said quietly. "He's in the ICU now. After all, you're still his legal wife. His parents are looking everywhere for you. Are you going to come back?" "No," I said flatly. "It doesn't mean anything anymore. I chose to let go. I'm not going to get tangled up again." "That's probably for the best," Lily said. "He got into the accident while trying to find you. If his parents catch up with you, they're going to blame you for everything." I didn't respond right away. In my heart, I believed that when love was gone, it was time to let go. Michael had wanted everything, both me and someone else, and in the end, what was the point, Lily? I said softly. "I don't want to hear any more news about him. From the moment I chose divorce, we became strangers. From now on, we go our separate ways, all right?" She replied, "Just focus on living well over there. Take care of yourself." After chatting for a bit longer, she hung up. Then came a flood of calls from unfamiliar numbers. I picked up one of them. It was Michael's mother. The moment I answered, she started screaming, accusing me of causing his accident and threatening to send me to prison. Her words were completely irrational. I replied, "Do whatever you want," and hung up. After that, I blocked every unfamiliar number. A week later, Lily called again. Michael, who had been lying in the ICU, had passed away. Despite all efforts to save him, he passed away at 2 a.m. When I received the news, I had just been praised by one of my professors. My heart didn't stir in the slightest. According to his assistant, Michael left half of his assets to me before he died. He even asked him to pass along a message, said if he had another chance, he would never have made such a foolish mistake. But what good are those words now? There's no such thing as a second chance in this world. I ended the call, lifted my head and looked up at the endless sky. I forced a small smile to my lips as my professor exited the classroom. He glanced at me and in clumsy Chinese said, "It'll all